I'm Gab, he's Jules. Blue skies over West London, blue skies over the Champions League. As far as I'm concerned, I really enjoyed that
too.
last night. Now,
Me
there is, I don't know if we're in the minority or just in the minority at this company. There is a lot of negativity from some people surrounding it. But let's recap, because in the end, the Shock, City and Paris Saint-Germain both make it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm going to name check the teams that qualify. Some of them we'll talk about later, but some of them won't. Liverpool lost, but they're still going through. Barcelona through. Arsenal through. Inter, Atletico Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, Lille, and Aston Villa.
That's the top 8, yeah.
This is the top 8. So they're going to go through. They're going straight through. They skip the playoffs. Just in general, and we're used to it. We're NFL fans. In the NFL, you play everybody in your division twice, and then the schedule's different. You play different teams, right? How many of these 8 do you think are among the 8 best teams in Europe right now?
I mean, you can make a case certainly for Liverpool, Barcelona, Arsenal, Inter Milan, and even Atletico Madrid, who've been on this incredible 15 wins in a row, second in La Liga. So those teams are either top, third for Barcelona, second, Bayer Leverkusen, second. I guess only Lille, for me, is the big surprise of this top 8 because nobody saw them. They had a tough schedule. They had to play Juventus and Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, top teams, home, away. For Villa, you can even make a case that they are still a very good team in the Premier League. But Lille and Villa are certainly a bit of the two outsiders, especially more Lille even.
Or to turn it around, which teams are not among these 8 that you think are actually definitely among the top 8 teams in Europe? Let me help you out. Real Madrid, Bayern, Manchester City,
and PSG, yeah, maybe. But then
who do you take out from here?
Exactly. Not all those teams would have made it to top 8 anyway.
And that's one of the things I like about this is that I think it's been a reality check for some big clubs that maybe only qualified at the end, who find themselves in the playoffs, didn't control their destiny.
Yeah.
I think it's been really good from a fan perspective, especially the smaller teams, because you have 2 winnable games. You've got 2 games against juggernauts.
Yeah.
And you have this kind of evolution over time. I think maybe I'm more predisposed to it because I think we've seen some tremendous games, some tremendous comebacks throughout this group stage, some tremendous goals.
Yeah.
I maybe just feels fresh to me, but I think we're on the same page.
I love this. I mean, I had enough of those group stages where by match day 4, everybody was sorted. You knew who was going to be top and second and third in the Europa League and the one that would be knocked out. Yesterday, there was so much at stake for a lot of teams. And maybe because there was so many teams involved, it was hard to know, okay, my team is going to win and finish in that place because there was so many teams and it was still so tight. I just loved it. I love to have the 18 games all at the same time. I loved all the goals, 64, I think, in those 18 games on Wednesday night, which I thought was amazing. It was great. And in the end, we will have great ties in the playoffs, great games in the last 16. All of that, I think, thanks to this new format.
I think down the road where you might run into a problem with the format is that they make a big deal out of the seedings and there's going to be the draw on Friday.
Yeah.
But the problem with the seedings is like in real life, because there's a team that does badly and goes beneath you, you might think, oh, look, I finished 9th. Brilliant. Uh-oh, here comes Manchester City.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's why I would change it. I would to keep people motivated, right? To keep the incentive, to make it mean something. I've talked about this before, and I'm the only person who likes this. Me and Theo Theodoridis, who's the Secretary General of UEFA. But he doesn't run the shop, unfortunately. Sorry, Alex. I don't mean that. Maybe one day he will. But what if you gave the top seed the chance to pick their opponent in the next round? And then the second seed picks their opponent, and so on. If you do it that way, not only is there wonderful narrative bulletin board material because you're like, oh, Real Madrid think they can beat us. Well, we'll show them, blah, blah, blah. But it actually becomes meaningful because somebody could finish high and get screwed now by playing City or Paris Saint-Germain or Real Madrid or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Which creates a disincentive. And I think you want to maintain that incentive that where you finish is really, really important in years going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I like the seeding because really big teams, had they all
Yeah.
done better, they would not have faced each other like a Bayern can face City or Real Madrid can face City.
Yeah, but the problem is you're hurting the small team that did well.
True.
That's the flip
But
side.
then that's the part
But-
of that, this kind of league phase.
All right, Jules, sticking to your point about groups being foregone conclusions under the old system. And look,
Yeah.
we lived with it for many years. It's not like it was all bad.
No,
But-
not all the groups were always done after
No.
4 games.
But for me, one of the big negatives about the old system is if you're a top seed, maybe like a big club that's going through a rough season, in your group you've got a 4th seed who are terrible.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Even if you're bad, you beat up on the 4th seed home and away. And then against the 3rd seed, let's say you beat them at home, you lose away.
Yeah, that's 9 points.
That's
already.
9 points. All you need is a draw in the last 2 games. 9
Yeah,
points
yeah,
generally
9
sees you
points.
through
Yeah.
anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why we saw this procession. I mean, I think over the last couple of years, somebody worked it out, but it was something like it was always 14 or 15 of the teams with the highest wage bills advanced
Yeah.
every year. And many times, there was a battle for the 1st or 2nd, but what I like about this format is I think that goes away. There is much more uncertainty.
Mhm.
And I think teams still have to wrap their head around what the seeding actually means. What we do know about the seeding, and you pointed this out, is they've eliminated, and they said draws on Friday. They've eliminated country protection, which
Yeah.
means you can play a team from your same country.
Yeah.
That has an instant impact on the French clubs.
Yeah, for example, because it turns out that we will have, for sure, we know already even before the draw on Friday that there will be, PSG will face another French team, whether it will be Brest or Monaco, one of the two, is all certain. And in a way, and the Brest players after the defeat against Real Madrid were saying, like, it's amazing that we've qualified for the playoff. We're so excited because it's against all odds. But please, we don't want to play PSG again because we play them enough. We play them in the league all the time. They play them on Saturday in the league. This Saturday coming, this weekend coming. And like they don't want to play them again in 10 days' time or 2 weeks' time when the first leg playoff is. And it will be the same for Monaco, who also played PSG in the French Super Cup. So that's the thing, but you could have PSV against Feyenoord. 2 Italian clubs could also face each other in the playoffs. So it's not just between 2 French teams. And I just think it would be a little bit of a shame because those teams are so used to play against each other in the leagues.
So I think it was under consideration to keep it. I think the real reason, or there's 2 reasons. The official reasons about why they didn't keep it is that it really messes up the seedings if you do that, right? Then the seedings become almost not totally irrelevant.
More difficult, sure.
But you could have a team finishing higher seed. Wait, why do we get screwed over? Because we happen to be from wherever, right? I think the other aspect is you don't want to get into a situation or clubs outside the Premier League and La Liga who are going to have more clubs or have historically in recent years had more clubs advancing the competition. Clubs outside it know that they end up facing, if you have country protection, they'll know that they'll end up facing one of those teams.
Yeah.
And that's probably not really fair. It's probably not the greatest thing commercially. Like, sucks for Brest.
Yeah,
Sucks
they can
for
still
Monaco
play
and
Benfica. They can play Benfica for Brest, and then PSG Monaco would be the other one.
Yeah, but then I feel so bad for that nice Adolf Hutter and the 22 Monaco fans at the Stade Louis II.
It would still be a great game, But shout out to the French club, by the way. 4 in the Champions League, 4 will be in the next round or the one after. And the only country with England to have qualified everybody, whether for the playoff or straight for the last 16, because Italy have lost 1, Spain have lost 1, Germany have lost 1. So well done to
Germany have lost 2, no?
Yeah, more
Stuttgart
than 1, but
as
at least
well.
1. I mean,
Right.
Stuttgart and Leipzig for them. But only the French and the English have made like a full house.
Is there, people always draw broad conclusions about the strengths of leagues and stuff, which I always think is kind of really stupid. But the fact that of the big 5 leagues, they came in with 22 and they go out with 18. Does that seem right? Is there any kind of
It
significance
just shows
to that?
for all the people who said this is a super league, there's no Joe Party there, there's nothing, the big clubs are going to prevail all the time, blah blah blah. We saw with City making it just about. We saw with Bayern being mid-table, which then probably will mean playing a big tie in the last 16 or in the playoffs or in the last 16. Same with Real Madrid. It hasn't been easy for them, and I think this is great. And like we saw with Leipzig, okay, Leipzig are a bit up and down in their own league as well. Very capable on some days and just anonymous on others, but still they've struggled in there. And for Dinamo Zagreb, who's done well at time, we've got a good young generation coming through. The very handsome Fabio Cannavaro, as we were talking about off air, Gabi, as a coach. Good. This is a great story. Lille is a wonderful story for Lille to finish top 8. You know,
I think so, and this is part of the thing that some people really ignore on this front. And when you said, "Oh, it's like the Super League," okay, so let's remind ourselves.
Yeah,
there were 12 Super League teams, and then in the framers of the Super League's mind, those 12 they didn't actually sign up, but the others would have been Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund, and Bayern. And so when I look at this, I'm just reading down the top of the table: Liverpool Super League, Barcelona Super League, Arsenal Super League, Inter Super League, Atletico Super League. But then Bayer Leverkusen, not Super League.
Nope.
Lille, not Super
Nope.
League. Aston Villa, not Super League.
Nope.
Atalanta, not Super League. Dortmund Super League, Real Madrid Super League, Bayern Super League, Milan Super League, PSV Eindhoven, not Super League, and Paris Saint-Germain Super League. So, again, oh, by the way, Nasser, before you get angry at me, I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not saying you're in the Super League, but you were considered worthy of invitation to the Super League. I think this is what you kind of want, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
and I think it will get better next season because we'll be more used to the format. I think clubs will maybe approach it in a slightly different way, and I think this format is going to get better and better.
There's a lot to learn. One thing that obviously before UEFA hired a bunch of nerds to do a bunch of simulations and how many points will see you through and blah blah blah. And it's interesting because a lot of them got it. They got a lot of things very, very wrong.
Yeah.
I think they were surprised that the cutoff for the top 8 would be 16 points.
Yeah.
And the other thing though is how tight it was in their projections. Dinamo Zagreb, who you mentioned, they go out with 11 points, same number of points as Manchester City, by the way, and they're out. It was less than a 1% chance in their modeling that would actually happen. So what that tells me is that, yes, we have teams that left on nul point. We'll get to them later. But it's actually been tighter. A lot of the games have been a lot tighter and more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some people, and I want to chuck this out to you because some people, like our colleague Mark Ogden, who I'm picking on because he's not here, he made the point in our Champions League talking points that, well, some teams like Bayern, Real Madrid, City thought they could just coast through. The implication being that they weren't taking it seriously at the beginning, and that's why they finished mid-table. Do you think that's...
No, I don't believe in that at all. I don't believe in that at all. I just think that at times you played in a very competitive environment where sometimes you play back-to-back and there's a lot of games between the league and there's obviously 2 extra games in this phase than in this format than the old format. There are times where you might not be at your best, not your strongest 11, some players injured, maybe some players, again, not physically at their best, and you play against a team like City and Feyenoord, for example, where you're 3-0 up and cruising, and then a good team like Feyenoord that can score at any time. They can also consider, as we saw against Lille on Wednesday night, can come back just in the blink of an eye, and then it's 3-3 and you City and you think like, wow, okay. And I think this is the beauty of this as well, is that you play, as you said before, top teams that you expect to win, but who still make it competitive. Okay, there's some who have been dreadful through and through, but they will always be like that. There was like that in the old format as well. Some pointless, useless team, hopeless team. So
Southampton are dreadful. Why don't we change the
exactly.
format of the Premier?
Well, but Sebastian Hoeneß was really not cross, but after the defeat against PSG and Stuttgart went out with 10 points, I think it was. Just said, oh yeah, before the tournament, they said that 99% with 10 points, 99% you were through. And clearly AI got it wrong because, we got 10 and we up. So even that was great.
It's modeling. You have to go. That's a great line from Sebastian Hoeneß, by the way. The other people who say, well, it's a slog, which I don't understand, because there's a lot of games The argument being the 2 extra games, oh, it's all about money, which, again, it's a tournament. You're playing more football. It's not like you're going out and drilling for more oil or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't. I don't see the argument. The money does get redistributed. It gets redistributed to the clubs, and also elsewhere in football to associations and so on. There's a debate to be had, I think, about player welfare and whatnot. Sure. But the debate has to be guided by science and data and numbers, not just,
how many games?
Yeah. Rodri did his ACL because there's 2 more games in the Champions League. It just doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
You need to come up with something better than that. Interesting thing on the prize money, which I will leave you with. One of the things the clubs negotiated is they redid the way the money's allocated. And so Manchester City, of course, finished 22nd out of 36.
Yeah.
In terms of how much money they're going to get the 10th most. And that has to do that they take into account recent history, and they take into account the size of the country's television deal. So obviously, the television deal here, for some reason, they do the UK and Ireland together, which again, those weird legacies of colonialism I don't fully understand, but whatever. And it is the biggest deal in Europe, so they get more money.
Yeah.
Does that sit well with you, or would you just do it entirely based on merit?
I don't know.
The clubs would never go for it if you did.
Yeah, exactly. If you wanted a fair split where everybody, depending on, regardless of where they're from, and would get the same, that's not happening. I know that for Lille, for example, not going straight into the last 16 is massive for them. I think all in all, it would bring them at least 70 million euros, which is incredible for a club like them. You would expect for Aston Villa to be really welcoming of an amount that would be superior to Lille for all the reasons that you just explained too. I've got no problem by rewarding brilliance. And if you finish in the top 8, then you deserve a big chunk. For City to be 22nd and still getting the 10th highest prize money is maybe a little bit pushy, but
the argument is we spend more money on players and wages, and therefore we need to get more money back. I think we generate more interest, more excitement. But you're right, and I'll just leave you with this thought: Liverpool and Barcelona, who finished first and second, they have already made more money from the group stage this season than Real Madrid made last year when they won it.
Exactly.
All right, enough of that. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, guys.
Manchester City get a real scare, but come from behind to beat Bruges 3-1. Jules, this could have gone the other way.
Yeah, Bruges were very good. They were leading at halftime, of course, thanks to the Onyedika goal. And City looked tense. It felt tense at the Etihad. Pep made a change at halftime. Gundogan off and Savinho on. And to be fair, that changed the dynamic, as well as the Kovacic early goal in that second half that settled the nerves. After that, you knew City were going to win. Bruges still qualify. So for them, yeah, of course, a draw or win would have been even better.
It got a little bit Gijon there at the end, if you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
By the way, in Pep Guardiola, there's more scratches on his head.
Yeah,
I don't think
he got really, really stressed out. Atalanta hold Barcelona to 2-2 draw in Barcelona as well. Gab, did the clash between the two clubs with the best goal difference in the competition live up to expectations? At least your expectations?
I thought it was open. I thought we got to see 4 goals. So some great goals.
Yeah.
Not the Araujo goal, of course, because he was left entirely unmarked. But how about my man, Ederson? The quick feet. Best Ederson in the Champions League. No question about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Alejandro Balde, before the game, they asked him, by the way.
That was bad. That's such a bad look for him and for Barcelona.
It's really bad, especially for both, actually.
Yeah, for both.
They ask him about Atalanta and Gasperini. He's like, I have no idea who that is.
Who's this player? He said like...
Yeah. So, first of all, if you're in that situation, these players should be trained. Like, just whisper to the guy, it's a coach of the team. Like, oh yes, I don't know much about him, but good team, blah blah blah. You should know. You should know.
Yeah,
they won the Europa League last year, whatever. But this is on Barcelona's communications people.
Completely.
Whoever it is, and please be in touch. We love talking to you. You need to prepare the guy. That's really, really embarrassing, really more for them than for Balde. So I'm glad Atalanta got the point they needed. They narrowly miss out on the top 8. Yeah. But
Aston Villa players were waiting the end of the Atalanta game.
Exactly.
It's another goal from Atalanta, and they would have been in the top 8, and Villa not in the top 8.
So that was good. And Barcelona would have dropped down to 4th or 5th.
Yeah,
behind Arsenal even. Morgan Rogers bags a hat trick as Aston Villa beat Celtic 4-2 to finish top 8. But Jules, what's up with the other strikers? John Duran is undergoing a medical with El Nasser ahead of a 75 million euro move, and there's reportedly a 60 million pound bid from Arsenal for Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, I mean, for Duran, I mean, obviously not both of them will go in this transfer.
Is it
window.
obvious that not both of them will go?
Yeah, I
that
think
is a
so.
lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but it's also very difficult then to replace. Well, one of them would be hard, two of them even harder, I think. I don't think from an Aston Villa point of view, you can refuse that bid from Al Nasser at 75 million euros, considering you bought him for 18 months ago or something, or 2 years ago now. It's just an incredible profit made by Villa. And yeah, he's the most younger one of the two because he's 21 when Watkins is 29. But
I'm surprised. So if you had the Watkins situation, and we'll get to that in the next quick hit, but if I'm Duran's agent, I go to them and I say, wait a minute, why don't we do a new contract here, sell Watkins, and I'll stay.
Maybe Duran wants to go to Al Nassr. Maybe the money is too good to turn down too. And certainly for Villa,
But dude,
the
he's
money
22 years old. Seriously, what are you doing?
But for Villa, the money is too much to turn down. And
I know,
Emery
but he
after
has
the
a say
game
in it.
said like, if he's going, it's because the money is good for us. So of course we're going to say yes.
It seems, I think that speaks volumes about where Villa are PSR wise and and what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then sticking with Arsenal and Ollie Watkins, Arsenal beat Girona 2-1 and made that bid for Ollie Watkins. I think it's less than 60 million. But do you think that's good use of Stan Kroenke's money for Watkins?
No, I think it's terrible use. If it's 60 million, I mean, Ornstein reported 60 million.
Yeah,
obviously, there's a number which it makes sense. Look, and I'm not just saying this because I think Kai Havertz is the best on earth, but the man is Watkins is 29 years old.
Yeah.
In this market with downward deflationary pressure, to go and spend this money, it means that you will probably need to replace Ollie Watkins in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And maybe 3 years, right? Like, good player. I think had a really rough start to the season this year, but now
Havertz has scored more goals than him this season.
now, which is kind of ironic. I mean, I'm assuming the thinking is, this way I can play Havertz in midfield.
Yeah,
but then you still have an
different
issue.
options.
Yeah, but then you have Zubimendi coming in. Where do you put Rice?
Well, Zubimendi is the holding. Yeah,
Right.
but Rice will play left. Yeah, you
So then you have Odegaard, Havertz, Rice, Zubimendi.
But Zubimendi would be more like.
No, but what I'm saying is you've got four guys for two
yeah,
positions,
sure.
right? Essentially, four top drawer guys. I don't understand this at all. If you're going to spend the money, if you're going to go and gamble, freaking gamble on Vlahovic. At least he's going to have a little bit of resale.
I think they looked at other options before making that bid. That was on Monday, the bid for Watkins, by the way. Not on Wednesday.
I would be very surprised if this turns out well, if it goes through. Paris Saint-Germain were also in danger of going out, but Ousmane Dembele and Speedy Barcola tee up an impressive win away to Stuttgart. Everything's okay now, Jules. Yeah, everything's fine. Nothing
I don't know, but
here.
they were very impressive, very, very good, especially in that first half. They could have scored 5, they scored 3. Then Dembele got his hat-trick on a lovely, lovely team move and lovely finish from him. 11 goals in his last 8 games. Barcola, obviously, after being so good against City in that second half last week, being very good again. And yeah, it's a team that is getting better. How much better to then be able to go find this competition? I don't know, because we know that if they get to the last 16, they will play Barcelona or Liverpool. So it's not ideal. So it might stop again at the last 16. But for now, it's a lovely team to watch. That's for sure. Very entertaining. Real Madrid beat Brest 3-0 in Guingamp, which is not enough to break into the top 8. But Gab, Florentino Perez is plotting again.
Yeah, Rodrigo scored a nice goal, but really from your story here is the president of the Spanish FA, Rafael Lozan, he says that Florentino has asked them to bring in English refs. Florentino perpetually unhappy with the refereeing because it's cost Real Madrid titles.
Have you not seen the referee we've got here?
That's what I was going to say. Like, if your issue, bringing in foreign refs is something which a number of leagues do, especially they want to remove all situations of bias in history. So Turkey's done it for years. Others have done it. It's a stupid thing to do. I think if you look at referees, certainly as far as FIFA and UEFA are concerned, Spanish referees regularly have guys who are among the best in the world. Now, not everybody's good. Not everybody's the same. if you want to get foreign ones, I think that's silly to begin with. But yeah, choosing England right now, and maybe in a few years, Howard Webb sorts it out and it gets better. I think
Yeah.
I think things are getting better.
Yeah.
With some notable exceptions, one of which we'll get to in a minute. But come on, really?
Milan will have to go to the playoffs. So as they go down to 10 men and lose 2-1 away at Fabio Cannavaro's Dinamo Zagreb, Gab, Sergio Conceição is raging again.
Yeah, not enough hunger, not enough aggression, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing Fonseca thought, but now Conceição is saying them. Dude, get them to play better. That first half was terrible. Now, a lot of incidents in this game.
Musa red
obvious-
cards.
Sorry?
The Musa red cards.
What about it?
Well, I think he should know better to start with.
Well,
It's
did
2
you-
yellows in 8 minutes.
The first yellow,
Yeah.
Musa should be fined. It's so stupid on his
It's-
part. Yes, and then Mateo Gabbia falls over the ball,
Yeah.
and then Leao. Sure, I thought that penalty should have. I don't think Leao elbows the guy in the face at all.
No,
I think
that's true.
that penalty should have stood. But it's a bunch of incidents. You're playing Dinamo Zagreb. I know. Maybe you're blinded by the Fabio Cannavaro, by the way, the only Ballon d'Or winner in the Champions League, right?
Is it? Yeah.
Can you think of another one?
Luka Modric.
Luka Modric, yes, but I'm talking about among the coaches.
Oh,
yes.
among the coaches.
But yes,
I don't know. Yeah, probably.
that's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it is cool.
So tremendous, impressive Dinamo Zagreb. Although as we mentioned, they miss out. Milan need to do better, and the derby does not come at a good time for them this weekend. Joel, shall we show some love for Lille?
Oh,
6-1
amazing.
winners over Feyenoord. Now that the group stage is over, we can say, in fact, you said it, they are the surprise package.
Yeah, they've been incredible. Really, when you think about their first defeat against Sporting on match day 1, and you thought, okay, that might be difficult for them, maybe a little step too high, and then they go and beat Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, and they lost away at Liverpool. That's the only second defeat that they've had. They draw with Juventus. This amazing win, really, against Feyenoord, especially in the second half, where they blew them away, despite not starting Jonathan David.
Yeah, can I
Benjamin
say something?
Andre
That
or
was mean.
Zegrova.
You're destroying them, and then you bring on Jonathan David.
Well, yeah, that's how good they've been. And Bruno Genesio, or Pep Genesio as we called him. Really outstanding work. They deserve it, and it's great for them, really great for them. Benfica keep their nerve and qualify for the playoffs with a 2-0 win over Juventus. Thiago Motta says it's his fault. Do you agree?
Yeah, of course it's his fault. And it's nice taking responsibility. And it's not so much just playing players in weird position. Tim Weah, right back when he's been actually playing center forward a lot for this club. Weston McKennie's adapted at left back. Injuries, necessity, fine. But it's also you bring back Dusan Vlahovic for this game. And obviously Vlahovic, different from Kolo Muani, it's going to affect the whole team. He made a gutsy decision, dropping Cope Miners, who's not been performing well. Fine. But then you need the follow-through. He signs Douglas Luiz for some money, doesn't like Douglas Luiz, then he likes Douglas Luiz again. I didn't think things got totally screwy in this game, of course, as well, when Kalulu has to come off injured.
Yeah.
Rather than do the rational thing and bring on Savona right back, maybe you move. I don't even know how you would do that. Instead, you get somebody out of position, has to bring Manuel Locatelli to play center back alongside Gatti, who was atrocious. So not good, but a lot of credit to Benfica, though.
Yeah, especially after that Barcelona defeat.
After that trauma, they come back and they get a huge victory, which pushes them forward. And by the way, maybe they might want to consider your man Pavlidis, that team in Manchester.
Maybe,
Maybe he's the best target man in Lisbon right now. It's time! It's Texter time! Jules, 5 games without a win. Never mind the fact that they're 6th in the league. Have cost Pierre Sage, Stonewise, his job. And here comes the very handsome Paulo Fonseca. We joked about it. We joked about it on the phone. And when he rang up Fonseca, he offered him the Leon job. But you know what? The reality is stranger than fiction.
And as John Textor said a few weeks ago, he was crazy enough to sack Pierre Sage. Stonewise, we feel for Stonewise. He took this team when they were bottom of the table 14 months ago, took them into a cup final, into the Europa League, into 6th in the table, in really close distance to the top 4 and Champions League for next season. So hard to understand why he got sacked. Good luck to Paulo Fonseca, because it's not so much that Paulo Fonseca is not a good coach. He's probably a better coach than Pierre Sage and with more experience. It's just that he will have to work with John Textor.
And possibly no transfers on the
fine. Maybe even in Ligue 2. Inter stomp all over Monaco 3-0 to go into the top 8, and Lautaro Martinez bags a hat-trick. Gab is hitting form at the right time.
Yeah, I think he scored in the last 6 games, 8 of the last 9, something like that. One of the goals was phenomenal. One of them was a tap-in. One was a penalty. It's the whole thing. Helped by the fact that Monaco had a guy sent off. Inter are looking stronger heading into the derby. This is really, really big.
Yeah.
They're going to make up their game against Fiorentina on February 6th now, because obviously they're not in the playoffs. So we're going to have a normal table on this head-to-head between them and Napoli. That promises to be exciting. Xavi Simons, who's Leipzig, of course, somehow lost again at the
Sturm
stadium formerly known as the Arnold Schwarzenegger Stadium to Sturm Graz. They lost 1-0, but Xavi Simons is officially a Leipzig player.
Yeah, he was on loan from PSG. Now it's a permanent move. 50 million euros plus 30 in bonuses, so could go up to 80 million,
That's
which
good money.
is great money for PSG. We got him obviously on a free, as you remember, before he went to PSV, and they bought him back. Great, PSG needed that. Also, that means they can send Skriniar to Fenerbahce and get more money for their accounting. And Dortmund has a new manager as well, Gabi, after sacking Nuri Sahin. It's Niko Kovac who's on the bench, and they beat Shakhtar last night as well.
That's right. A win that turned out to be pretty irrelevant, frankly, in the grander scheme of things, other than seeding, obviously. I'm not a Kovac guy. Obviously, I go back to the halcyon days of Eintracht Frankfurt. I hope he doesn't bring Luka Jovic back or such nonsense. He's got a lot of work to do. Does not seem like a calming influence at a club. And let's see if they can get out of their Keystone Cop situation.